So check it. The wife throws me a birthday party. She invites some people that I used to work with. And you know how that one person just kind of tags along, comes to parties, you don't really know them, but they come anyway. So this dude ran up to me. He said, "Man, yo, what's up, Big Zulu? It's Queen. Remember me from the third floor?" I kind of really didn't remember him, but I let the brother go on in. He had a big gift in his hand. He said, "Yeah, Zoo, man, I got a good gift for you, brother. I want you to open this. Open it now." So I opened the damn gift, and it's 2 pink shake weights. So before I could reach back and check him, I heard bling. The wife had hit him over the head with one of them old school black skillets, and he went out. And when he came to, my wife told him, "There's only one queen in this house," and took his phone and made him subscribe to Commander Zulu and the Real Man Movement. We don't do shake weights, baby. Salute, family. Tank Commander Zulu back at you once again, and the Real Man Movement. Today I want to deal with the issue of, are you afraid to live or are you afraid to die? Because a real man, he either lives or dies. Let's talk about it today here at the Real Man Movement with Tank Commander Zulu. Fire in the hole, baby. The more you tell yourself you can, the more you will. Tell yourself you can do it, you will do it. Never tell yourself you're too tired. Never tell yourself you worked too hard today. You can't get that work out here. Tell yourself you will. I will do it. I will not quit. I will not let the condition beat me. I will not let stress beat me. Real Man Movement. Are you afraid to live? Or are you afraid to die? It's not a complicated question, but it's a very intriguing question. Many people that are living and who are living are afraid to live. Even while breath is in their body, life is within them, they are afraid to live. And the other side of the coin is death. Some people who are living are simply afraid that they have to die, that they must die. You can't get around it. You either live or you die. When I was younger, my father used to always say, "A man live or die." And that's some real talk right there. A man lives or dies. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that women don't live and die. That's true. They do also. But what he was meaning, as a man, you have to be able to live through some things and live with the understanding that one day you will die. So there's no fear involved. In other words, the saying my father used to say, "A man live or die," in other words, you have to extract the fear of death from your life. The reason you have to extract it is because you can do nothing about it. You're gonna die. But you're also living right now. And you have to learn how to live like a man. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean I just live any kind of way I want to live, do what I want? Certainly not. That's not what it means. That's existing in a clouded, foolish state. If you do what you want to do, that's in objection to life. If you're doing something constantly that is offending life, then you're simply a fool. That's not what this terminology or this meaning or this saying doesn't refer to you. You're something else. You're a fool. You're not being a man. A man lives or dies. He's not afraid to live like a man. He's not afraid to take on responsibilities. He's not afraid to deal with loss. He's not afraid to deal with hurt. Not afraid to deal with pain. Not afraid to deal with objection. In other words, a real man is not afraid that if he loses his job, his life is over. He's not afraid that if I lose my wife, my whole life is over. No. He lives as a man. If I lose certain things that are close to me, will it hurt? Yes. But in order for a real man to continue to live, he has to understand and learn how to live under the conditions of hurt. You have to know how to live under those conditions of hurt and pain. Oh, man, while you're alive.
Yo, one of the major keys to success is that you got to talk to yourself. You can't always have somebody talking to you, trying to motivate you all the time. But you got to talk to yourself. You got to inspire yourself. You got to push yourself. Let me give you an example. You can't be beat. No one's better. No one can outwork me. I'm the hardest worker. I don't get tired. I don't care how my body feels. I'm gonna get another set. I'm gonna get another rep. Because I'm mentally prepared. Mind first, body second.
You have to extract the fear that you gotta face death. So you live life like a man lives or dies. Not concerned with what somebody think they can take away from me that will hurt me. Because I still have to live. Why? Because life is a gift from God. It's not a gift from man. It's not a gift from your boss. It's not a gift from somebody else, your spouse. It's a gift from God. So I have to live it. And I have to respect the principles of life. What are the principles of life? Well, if I poison my body with alcohol, poison my body with drugs, poison my body with sexual immoralities or things of that nature, then I'm not respecting life. I'm not living like a man. A dog can live the same way. A rat, a cat. They're not under the same divine principles as a human being, like we are. We have to live without fear. That's a man. We have to know that we're going to die without fear. That's a real man. A man live or die. You know, my father was very profound in what he was saying. And he always said it, even when I was younger. He always told me that. A man live or die, son. In other words, you got to be, as a man, you got to be hard in life. You can't be flimsy in life as a man. You don't respond to things like a woman respond. You see, you got too many so-called men that's been raised by women and they act just like women. When something happens, they have no resilience about themselves. They have no hardness, no toughness. When everybody else is falling apart, you got to be the one that's be holding things together. You got to live. And you also got to understand that anytime death can overtake you. And when you understand that death can overtake you, you don't fear it anymore. It doesn't make a difference what you try to do. You still have to face death. You have to face situations that can bring you death. But you have to face them with a courage.
Here at the Real Man Movie, we give it all we got. We don't play no games. We don't come here to play with lightweight. Check it out. Everything is on there. You can't get nothing else on there. That's how you gotta roll. Real Man Movie. Check us out. Woo! Just getting started, baby. No quit. Come on. All cool. Woo, that's how we do it at the Real Man Movie.
You know, in the Bible, in 1 Samuel chapter 30, it talks about King David. He had a situation where he had to go and face death in order to bring restoration not only to him, but to his men as well, his soldiers. You see, the way the story goes, David had a camp called Ziklag. And that was the camp where he held his goods and his family, the women and children, and the soldiers would go about continuing the war they were in with the Amalekites, because he was in war. But the camp Ziklag was like the rear. It was like the place where the wife and women and kids were there and his goods. So he would come back to that place after coming out of war and battle and combat. Him and his men would go back to Ziklag. Well, in this particular occasion, they were on their way back to Ziklag. And when they got there, they saw the city was burned down. All of their loved ones were taken. They were just kidnapped. The Amalekites had came through and taken everything that was in that camp and took it for their own. And then they burned the camp down. This brought a lot of distress to King David and all of his men. These were all fighters. They've been fighting for a while in war against the Amalekites. So imagine getting home from combat and you see that your wife is gone, your mother's gone, your children are gone, the things you love are gone. Not only what's yours, but the people who fought beside you, what they loved and cherished is gone, taken by your opposition. This is what the position that David was in. It made his men start to feel some kind of way. You see, this is when the times are bad, you have to understand how to live as a man. But King David people, his men, other soldiers, they became mad at him. They start to blame him for the fact that their loved ones were taken. They felt they should have been able to be in Ziklag to defend it. So the Amalekites would have came, they would have met some opposition. But they were away doing what David wanted them to do, to fight the way David wanted them to fight. So they began to feel some kind of way about it. It got to the point that they were wanting to stone David, to kill him. David felt all this negative energy coming from his men, his soldiers. And it was starting to weigh on David. But here's the thing. This is what David did. You see, too many times men want to be encouraged. You got to stop wanting to be encouraged by someone all the time. Don't be the person and don't be the man that you have to call somebody all the time to encourage you. It's sometimes people won't be there to encourage you. They'll be on the other side of that thing and discourage you. David was in this position. So what does he do? He goes and grabs what's called the ephod. At that time, it was like a prayer robe. So he took the prayer robe, got to himself, and he prayed to God. In other words, he encouraged himself to live. And once he prayed to God, one of the things he asked God, am I even capable of going and retaining what was taken from me? What was taken from my soldiers, our loved ones, the valuable things that we had. All this was taken by our enemies. He got into deep prayer, and God reassured him, encouraged him. God encouraged him that he is more than able to retrieve everything that was taken from him. Everything. Think about this now. So now David comes out of that spiritual position now as a different man. It's a real man. He doesn't stay defeated because he's not getting encouragement from the men around him. He goes to God and encourages himself through God. So the next time those men see David, he's a different David. He tells them, let's go back to battle. Let's go find what was taken from us. And they go out looking for the Amalekites, and they happen to find where they were. And as you read the story, it's very interesting, but I don't want to be too long. But they find out where the Amalekites were by one of the Amalekite servants that were left behind. One of the Amalekite servants was left behind while they were doing all these things to Ziklag because he was sick for 3 days. So they left him behind to die. But David's men ran up on him, and they found him, and they brought him to David. And the Egyptian told the story about what happened. He confirmed that that he was part of the Amalekites that burned down Ziklag. And David got this information. They fed him, they brought him back to health, and what the slave did, the Egyptian slave did, was show them where the Amalekites' camp was. Just what he needed. You see, he didn't know he was going to find this guy. But once David encouraged himself in God, God opened doors for him to perform exactly what he asked of God. He wanted to know if he was able to retain what was taken from him. He's alive now. He has to live like a man and stand like a man in order to get back what was taken from him. And in the process, if he dies, he's not afraid to die. So as the story goes, they find out where the Amalekites' camp is. David is given this information by the Amalekites' Egyptian slave that was left behind. And once David and his men run up on him, the Amalekites out there dancing, they're having a good time, and they are just, happy about what they feel that they have accomplished and the blow that they have taken to David and Israel. David runs up on them. And the way the Bible says, he went to war with them from that morning till the next evening. And he demolished them. And not only did he get the victory in battle, but everything that was taken from him, everything, he retrieved it back. In other words, he got it back without a scratch on him. None of his women were violated. None of his cattle was slaughtered. None of the possessions that he had that were taken away from him were violated or tampered with in any way. Why? Because David encouraged himself to live like a man. And he also encouraged himself to die like a man if necessary. Because he spoke with God about it. A man live or die. It's a beautiful story. And every man can learn from it. You see, by myself being a combat veteran, I really relate to what King David did in the Bible. Because he was always in a war posture. Surrounded by his enemies, he was continually at war. And when you're always in combat, you think different to people who never been in combat. You think different than they do. You live different than they do. You learn to live like a man. When you get the call to go, you can't be afraid. You may be afraid at first, but after so many times of being faced with life and death, you learn to live like a man. And as my father used to say, a real man live or die. But if we live the right way as men, just like David did, understanding that we can't do everything on our own. I can't be encouraged by people all the time. I have to know how to encourage myself when people turn their backs on me, when people look away, when people don't have the time. They just may not have the resources. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But when I go to God, God encourages me. I have to learn how to be encouraged through God. Encourage myself. And then pick my head up and go take back what's rightfully mine. Why? Because God said I can do it. It's living like a man. It don't matter how hurt I may be, or you may be. You still have to stand and live like a man. Live with the understanding that no matter what you have to face, you're either going to conquer it, or you're going to die trying to conquer it, or die. See, David went up in Ziklag with his men to live or die. It was either two situations was going to happen. He was going to live and retain everything that was taken, or he was going to die attempting to attain everything that was taken. As a man, you need to live like that. You need to live with that kind of desire, that kind of zeal. That's how a man lives. A man lives or dies, y'all. Every real man should be able to take this message and apply it directly to their life. Are you a man that is afraid to live? Or are you a man that's afraid to die? Because a real man live or die. And with that, family, that's all we gonna have on the tank tonight. I'm gonna stop the tank and be prepared to get back on soon. And if you are not a subscriber to the channel, I want to encourage everybody to become subscribers to the channel. This is positive male enforcement that can benefit men as well as women. Everybody loves a real man, baby. And we are real men here. And remember, your spirit, mind, and body all must be strong. Tank Commander Zulu, signing out.